Kangaroos are among the most fascinating and iconic creatures on Earth, instantly recognizable as symbols of Australia and marvels of the natural world. They are marsupials belonging to the subfamily Macropodinae, a word that means large foot, and in common use the term refers to the largest species of this family: the red kangaroo, the antilopine kangaroo, the eastern gray kangaroo, and the western gray kangaroo. Kangaroos are the world's largest marsupials, capable of reaching heights anywhere between 3 and 8 feet and weighing between 40 and 200 pounds. These extraordinary animals have captured the imagination of people all over the world, and for very good reason. Everything about them, from the way they move to the way they raise their young, is unlike almost anything else in the animal kingdom. Kangaroos are indigenous to Australia and New Guinea, and the Australian government estimated that around 42.8 million kangaroos lived within the commercial harvest areas of Australia in 2019. That is a remarkable population for any large animal, and it speaks to just how well the kangaroo has adapted to its environment over millions of years. Kangaroos and other macropods share a common ancestor with the Phalangeridae from the Middle Miocene, and this ancestor was likely arboreal, living in the canopies of the extensive forests that covered most of Australia at a time when the climate was much wetter. Over time, as Australia dried out and forests gave way to grasslands and scrublands, kangaroos evolved from tree dwellers into the powerful ground-hopping animals we know today. There are 4 main species of kangaroo that people typically refer to when they use the word. The red kangaroo is the largest of them all and arguably the most well-known outside of Australia. Red kangaroos are the largest of all marsupials, known for their reddish-brown fur in males and grayish-blue fur in females. They are built for life in the harsh Australian outback, capable of surviving in conditions that would challenge most other large animals. Red kangaroos thrive in Australia's arid regions, adapting to low water availability and sparse vegetation, using their powerful legs for long-distance travel under extreme conditions. The eastern grey kangaroo is less well known outside Australia, but is the most often seen, as its range covers the fertile eastern part of the country. Population densities of eastern grey kangaroos can peak near 100 per square kilometer in suitable habitats of open woodlands. The western grey kangaroo is slightly smaller, and is found in southern Western Australia, South Australia's coastal regions, and the Murray-Darling Basin. Then there is the antilopine kangaroo, which is essentially the northern equivalent of the grey kangaroos. Its name comes from its fur, which is similar in color and texture to that of antelopes, and characteristically, the noses of males swell behind the nostrils, enlarging the nasal passages and allowing them to release more heat in hot and humid climates. The physical design of a kangaroo is one of nature's most brilliant engineering achievements. Their long tails, thickened at the base, are used for balancing, and this feature is most obvious in the large kangaroos, which use the tail as a third leg when standing still. Each long, narrow hind foot has 4 toes, with the large 4th toe bearing most of the animal's weight. The second and third toes are united and merely vestigial, a condition known as syndactyly. The short 4 limbs have 5 unequal digits and are used almost like human arms, but all digits are sharp-clawed, and the thumb is not opposable. The result is an animal that looks almost comically top-heavy to an untrained eye, yet moves with breathtaking efficiency and speed. Kangaroos are the only large animals to use hopping as their primary means of locomotion. This might seem like an odd evolutionary choice, but it is actually extraordinarily effective. Their powerful hind legs and elastic tendons act like springs, making hopping an incredibly energy-efficient way to travel at speed. The faster a kangaroo hops, the more efficient it becomes, a counterintuitive fact that sets kangaroos apart from almost all other animals, where faster movement always demands more energy. Thanks to their large feet, kangaroos can leap some 30 feet in a single bound and travel more than 30 miles per hour. At their absolute peak, red kangaroos can reach speeds of up to 70 kilometers per hour over short distances and maintain speeds of 40 kilometers per hour for extended periods. These are not just fast animals. They are phenomenally fast animals, capable of outrunning almost any predator that threatens them. The kangaroo has powerful hind legs and large feet, and a large muscular tail to keep it balanced while in motion. A male kangaroo can leap to lengths of close to 30 feet, and at a height of up to 10 feet. Even their tail deserves special recognition. The thick, muscular tail acts as a 5th limb, forming a tripod with the hind legs when standing still, and can be used for support during boxing contests between males. It is not merely a balancing tool. It is an active, weight-bearing structure that plays a central role in the kangaroo's daily life. Kangaroos are strictly herbivorous, and their digestive system is as impressive as their legs. They are herbivores that eat a wide range of plants, and the animal has a chambered stomach, similar to that of cows, to help with the digestion process. Kangaroos also have highly specialized teeth. Their incisors are able to cut grass and shrubs extremely close to the ground, and their molars are designed to grind down vegetation. Their molars fall out regularly due to wear and tear and are replaced with new teeth. This remarkable dental replacement system means a kangaroo is always equipped with fresh grinding teeth capable of processing the tough, fibrous grasses that make up the bulk of its diet. Kangaroos prefer tender, green shoots but will consume tougher, more fibrous grasses when necessary. In arid regions where grass is less abundant, they also eat the leaves of shrubs and low trees and occasionally consume flowering plants and forbs. Kangaroos are primarily crepuscular, meaning they are most active during the early morning and late afternoon to evening hours. This behavior helps them avoid the intense midday heat in many of their habitats. During the hottest parts of the day, kangaroos seek shade to rest and conserve energy. This timing is not accidental. It is a deeply ingrained survival strategy that has allowed kangaroos to thrive even in Australia's most brutal climates. The social life of a kangaroo is rich and surprisingly complex. Kangaroos are a highly social species and often live in large groups known as mobs. These mobs can range in numbers from small groups to more than 100 kangaroos. They often engage in nose touching or sniffing to build cohesion within the group. These groups are led by a dominant male, known as a boomer, and mobs consist mainly of females and their young, with males joining during the mating season. Group size tends to be larger in areas of higher population density and in more open habitats. Members can better share the duties of scanning for predators and spend more time feeding, though this may also result in competition and resource depletion. Within these mobs, the dominant male holds a privileged position. Boxing between males in the group is used to establish dominance, and the dominant male leads the mob and has exclusive access to the females for mating. These boxing contests are one of the most spectacular and well-known behaviors of the kangaroo. Male kangaroos stand on their tails and kick with their powerful hind legs during these bouts. What might look like playful sparring is actually serious business. The outcome determines who gets to pass on their genes to the next generation. Low levels of aggression are generally observed among kangaroos, except between males during the breeding season. Group members may also help each other groom hard-to-reach places, although self-grooming is also commonly reported. Young kangaroos learn social behaviors early in life, and play fighting between mothers and young, or between two young males, is a common and important part of their development. Perhaps nothing about the kangaroo is more astonishing than the way it reproduces and raises its young. A baby kangaroo is born only after about a month-long gestation period. The young kangaroo, called a joey, is born at a very immature stage, when it is only about 2 centimeters long and weighs less than a gram. Immediately after birth, it uses its already clawed and well-developed forelimbs to crawl up the mother's body and enter the pouch. The joey attaches its mouth to a teat, which then enlarges and holds the young animal in place. This journey from the birth canal to the pouch, made by a creature barely the size of a grape, entirely on its own, is one of the most remarkable feats in the entire animal kingdom. After continuous attachment for several weeks, the joey becomes more active and gradually spends more and more time outside the pouch, which it leaves completely at 7 to 10 months of age. Even after leaving the pouch, a joey will continue to return to its mother for warmth and safety for some time. Female macropodids of many species enter into heat within a few days after giving birth, meaning mating and conception can occur very soon after a joey is born. This can result in a female kangaroo simultaneously carrying a dormant embryo, a pouch joey still attached to a teat, and a young joey that has already left the pouch but still depends on its mother. It is a reproductive strategy of extraordinary efficiency. Kangaroos face few natural predators aside from humans and wild dogs called dingoes. Heat, drought, and hunger due to vanishing habitat are among the largest threats they face. If threatened, kangaroos pound the ground with their strong feet as a warning. Fighting kangaroos kick opponents and sometimes bite. Their kicks are genuinely dangerous. A large male kangaroo can deliver a kick powerful enough to disembowel a dog or seriously injure a human being. Wild kangaroos are hunted for meat, leather hides, and to protect grazing land. Kangaroo meat has perceived health benefits for human consumption, compared with traditional meats due to the low level of fat on kangaroos. The relationship between kangaroos and humans in Australia is a complicated and sometimes controversial one. On one hand, kangaroos are cherished national symbols. A kangaroo appears on the Australian coat of arms and on some of its currency, and is used as a logo for some of Australia's most well-known organizations, such as Qantas, and as the roundel of the Royal Australian Air Force. On the other hand, they are also managed and harvested as a resource, and their populations must sometimes be controlled to prevent overgrazing on agricultural land. The large kangaroos have adapted much better than the smaller macropods to land clearing for pastoral agriculture and the habitat changes brought by humans. Many of the smaller species are rare and endangered, while kangaroos are relatively plentiful. The IUCN classifies each of the main kangaroo species as of least concern. However, habitat loss and human activities have led to a decrease in population size in several species. Beyond the 4 main species, the kangaroo family is wonderfully diverse. The tree kangaroo is one of the most extraordinary members of the family, found in the rainforests of Australia and New Guinea, and has adapted perfectly to a life spent above the forest floor. It has strong forelimbs and curved claws perfect for climbing, a long heavy tail used for balance, and shorter, sturdier hind legs than its ground-dwelling relatives. Tree kangaroos can jump over 9 meters from tree branches to lower levels, and they are the only kangaroo species adapted for life in the trees. They represent a living window into what the ancient ancestor of all kangaroos may have looked like before the great drying of Australia sent their cousins to the ground. Kangaroo locomotion has even inspired the development of energy-efficient robots that mimic hopping, improving long-distance travel and rough terrain navigation. The elastic energy storage properties of kangaroo tendons have also led to innovative materials for sports equipment and wearable technology. And kangaroo reproductive traits like embryonic diapause are informing human reproductive medicine and veterinary care. This ancient animal, shaped by millions of years of evolution on an isolated continent, continues to teach us new things about biology, physics, and the remarkable possibilities of life on Earth. From the blazing red deserts of the outback to the lush rainforest canopies of Queensland and New Guinea, from the thunderous boxing matches of rival males to the tender, almost miraculous journey of a newborn joey barely larger than a thumbnail, the kangaroo is, in every sense of the word, extraordinary. It is an animal that has earned its place not just as the face of a nation, but as one of the most compelling and irreplaceable creatures our planet has ever produced. One of the most underappreciated aspects of the kangaroo is just how intelligent it truly is. For a long time, popular perception cast the kangaroo as a simple, instinct-driven creature, impressive in its physical abilities but limited in its mental ones. Recent science has told a very different story. Kangaroos exhibit problem-solving skills, social behaviors, and can communicate effectively within their groups. Their intelligence is not as easily observed in terms of training or obedience, as they are wild animals with different survival instincts and social structures. This distinction matters. The kangaroo's intelligence is not the kind measured by human standards, but it is deeply real and precisely suited to the demands of its environment. Research has shown that kangaroos can navigate obstacles in their paths, employing creative thinking to find the best route to safety or sustenance. Their keen memory helps them remember locations of water sources, which is crucial in the harsh landscapes of Australia. In a continent where a misremembered waterhole can mean death, this kind of spatial memory is not a luxury. It is a survival essential. Kangaroos have been living and thriving in Australia for millions of years, and a large part of that success comes down to their ability to learn, remember, and adapt. Perhaps the most surprising discovery about kangaroo intelligence came from a landmark study that genuinely astonished the scientific community. Published in the journal Biology Letters, the study found that when 10 of 11 kangaroos were presented with an unsolvable problem, a box filled with food that they couldn't open, the animals began to gaze intently at the researchers when their efforts failed. 9 kangaroos even looked back and forth between the researcher and the box, as if asking for help. This behavior, so familiar to anyone who has owned a dog or a cat, was entirely unexpected from a wild, undomesticated animal. The researchers interpreted this as a deliberate form of communication, a request for help. Wild species are not really expected to behave as those subjects were, and that's why it is surprising, said Alan McElligott, an animal behavior researcher who led the study. What made this finding especially significant is what it challenged. Previously, many researchers thought that the ability to communicate with humans was a trait bred into certain animals during domestication. The study instead suggests such behavior can be learned under the right conditions, and that the abilities of non-domesticated animals to communicate with humans may have been substantially underestimated. The kangaroo, an animal that has never been domesticated anywhere in the world, was doing something that science had assumed only domesticated animals could do. Kangaroos are much better at communicating with each other than with humans, relying on complicated movements and vocalizations. When a kangaroo spots danger, it will stomp its legs on the ground and make loud barking noises to warn the others in the mob. A growl signals a closer, more immediate threat. Male kangaroos also use a raspy cough to indicate submissiveness, while a growl serves as a warning. This vocabulary of sounds is more nuanced than most people realize, and the mob's ability to interpret these signals quickly and accurately can mean the difference between life and death. Kangaroos rely heavily on body language as well, communicating through posture and movement. The positioning of their ears reflects focus and intent, while their eyes can indicate curiosity or even trust. Thumping the feet on the ground sends an urgent signal of danger to the mob. Playful hops and joyful side kicks reflect excitement, while slower hops convey caution or exhaustion. Mother kangaroos make soft clucking sounds to communicate with their joeys, while males emit deep guttural growls to establish dominance or warn of potential threats. Studies have revealed that kangaroos can adapt their communication style based on different situations and individuals. This flexibility in communication, adjusting tone, volume, and type of signal based on context, is a hallmark of sophisticated social animals. Kangaroo intelligence also shines when they are escaping predators. Instead of merely hiding or running away, they use their intelligence to lure their attackers into deep water. Once there, the kangaroo deliberately drowns the predator. This behavior, witnessed and documented by observers, represents a form of strategic thinking that goes well beyond simple flight responses. It requires the kangaroo to assess the situation, identify an environmental advantage, and use it deliberately. A sequence of reasoning that speaks to genuine cognitive ability. The predator situation for kangaroos is a fascinating one that has changed dramatically over the millennia. The thylacine, considered by paleontologists to have once been a major natural predator of the kangaroo, is now extinct. Other extinct predators included the marsupial lion, megalania, and wonambi. These were fearsome creatures, and the kangaroo evolved alongside them, developing its speed, its alertness, and its formidable defensive capabilities in response to their pressure. When those ancient predators disappeared, some due to climate change, others likely due to the arrival of humans, the kangaroo found itself in a landscape with far fewer natural enemies. With the arrival of humans in Australia at least 50,000 years ago and the introduction of the dingo about 5,000 years ago, kangaroos have had to adapt again. Along with dingoes, introduced species such as foxes, feral cats, and both domestic and feral dogs now pose a threat to kangaroo populations. Kangaroos and wallabies are adept swimmers and often flee into waterways if presented with the option. If pursued into the water, a large kangaroo may use its forepaws to hold the predator underwater so as to drown it. Another defensive tactic described by witnesses is catching the attacking dog with the forepaws and disemboweling it with the hind legs. These are not passive, helpless animals. They are highly capable fighters when cornered, and their hind leg kicks are powerful enough to cause serious injury to any animal that threatens them. There is also a remarkable link between the kangaroo's hopping action and its breathing. As the feet leave the ground, air is expelled from the lungs. Bringing the feet forward, ready for landing, refills the lungs, providing further energy efficiency. Studies have demonstrated that beyond the minimum energy expenditure required to hop at all, increased speed requires very little extra effort, much less than the same speed increase in a horse, dog, or human. This means that for a kangaroo, sprinting is nearly as economical as jogging, a physical marvel that no other large animal on Earth can claim. For kangaroos, the key benefit of hopping is not speed to escape predators, but economy. In an infertile country with highly variable weather patterns, the ability to travel long distances at moderately high speed in search of food sources is crucial to survival. The lifespan of kangaroos averages at 6 years in the wild, but can exceed 20 years in captivity, varying by the species. Life in the wild is genuinely hard. Drought, predation, competition for food, and vehicle collisions all take their toll. Captive kangaroos, freed from these pressures, can live remarkably long lives, a fact that underscores just how demanding the Australian environment truly is for its most famous inhabitant. The relationship between kangaroos and the Aboriginal peoples of Australia stretches back tens of thousands of years and is one of the most profound human-animal relationships on the continent. The centrality of kangaroo species in the diet, accoutrements, ceremony, art, and mythology of Aboriginal Australians has been discussed by many researchers. Kangaroos have probably always been an important and valued source of meat, offering many kilograms of nutrition for the hunting effort with the large species. Aboriginal Australians also manufactured kangaroo skin water bags in Central Australia. The kangaroo was not merely food. It was a resource that clothed, equipped, and sustained entire communities across the continent. The origins of kangaroo mythology can be traced back to the Dreamtime, a time when the world was created by ancestral beings. According to indigenous beliefs, the kangaroo was created by a powerful ancestor known as the dreaming kangaroo, who was responsible for shaping the landscape, creating the first kangaroos, and giving them their unique characteristics. In many Western Desert Aboriginal traditions, red kangaroo dreaming stories tell of ancestral kangaroo beings whose travels and events shaped features of the land and encoded rules for living on country. These are not merely stories. They are living systems of law, ecology, and spiritual knowledge passed down through generations, embedding the kangaroo permanently into the identity and worldview of Indigenous Australians. In some Dreamtime stories, the kangaroo is seen as a powerful and wise leader who guides and protects the community. It is often depicted in traditional art and stories as a symbol of strength, power, and resilience. For many Indigenous Australian groups, the kangaroo is a symbol of survival, adaptability, and resourcefulness. Its ability to thrive in the harsh and arid Australian landscape has made it a revered and respected animal, representing the resilience of Indigenous peoples and their deep connection to the land. The oldest known rock art in Australia is a 300-year-old painting of a kangaroo, dated using fossilized mud wasp nests. Found in the Kimberley region, this painting is part of a rich tradition of rock art that includes multiple distinct styles. Researchers, including traditional owners, used charcoal from the wasp nests to determine the age of the artwork, revealing insights into the region's historical and cultural shifts. To put that in perspective, this kangaroo painting is older than the famous cave paintings of Lascaux in France, making it one of the oldest figurative artworks ever discovered anywhere on Earth. The kangaroo has been central to Australian human life for longer than most civilizations have existed. The first kangaroo exhibited in the Western world was shot by John Gore on Captain Cook's HMS Endeavour in 1770. Its skin and skull were transported to England, where it was stuffed and displayed to the public. For many 18th century Britons, their first glimpse of a kangaroo was through a painting by George Stubbs. The word kangaroo itself has an equally interesting origin. The word derives from the Gugu Yamathir word gangaroo, referring to eastern grey kangaroos. The name was first recorded as kangaroo on the 12th of July 1770 in an entry in the diary of Sir Joseph Banks at the site of modern Cooktown on the banks of the Endeavour River. A popular myth long circulated that the word meant, "I don't understand," in an Aboriginal language, as if the Indigenous Australians, when asked what the animal was, had replied in confusion. In reality, they gave Cook and Banks the correct name for it right away, a reflection of just how deeply and accurately they had always known this creature. The ecological role of the kangaroo in the Australian landscape is enormous, and often underappreciated in public conversation. As herbivores, kangaroos play a crucial role in shaping the vegetation and maintaining the balance of plant communities. Their grazing behavior helps control the growth of grasses and plants, preventing overgrowth in certain areas and promoting plant diversity. By consuming a variety of vegetation, kangaroos also aid in seed dispersal, spreading plant seeds throughout their habitats and contributing to forest regeneration. Moreover, kangaroos are a vital prey species for a range of predators, including dingoes and large birds of prey. Remove the kangaroo from the Australian ecosystem, and the effects would ripple outwards in ways that are difficult to fully predict. Unlike many of the smaller macropods, kangaroos have fared well since European settlement. European settlers cut down forests to create vast grasslands for sheep and cattle grazing, added stock watering points in arid areas, and have substantially reduced the number of dingoes. In a strange twist of fate, the environmental changes that devastated so much of Australia's native wildlife actually benefited kangaroos, creating exactly the kind of open grasslands and reliable water sources that these animals thrive in. This overabundance has led to the view in some quarters that the kangaroo is a pest animal, requiring regular culling and other forms of management. There is concern, however, that current management practices are leading to detrimental consequences for kangaroo welfare, landscape sustainability, biodiversity conservation, and Aboriginal health and culture. This debate between those who see kangaroos as a manageable resource and those who see them as an irreplaceable natural and cultural treasure is one of the most complex and contested wildlife discussions in Australia today. Kangaroos face numerous threats to their survival, including habitat loss, hunting, and climate change. Habitat loss is the most significant threat, with large areas of natural habitat being cleared for agriculture, mining, and urban development. Climate change is affecting kangaroo populations through changes in rainfall patterns, temperature, and vegetation growth. As their habitats become fragmented, kangaroo populations are often isolated from one another, making it difficult for them to maintain genetic diversity and adapt to changing environmental conditions. Kangaroos are shy and retiring by nature, and in normal circumstances present no threat to humans. In fact, there is at least one documented case of a kangaroo actively helping a human in need. In 2003, Lulu, an eastern gray kangaroo who had been hand-reared, saved a farmer's life by alerting family members to his location when he was injured by a falling tree branch. It is a story that feels almost too remarkable to be true, and yet it speaks to something real about these animals. Their attentiveness, their social awareness, and their capacity to form genuine bonds with the people who care for them. Boxing matches between male kangaroos, while intense, rarely result in serious injuries, as their primary purpose is to assert dominance rather than to cause harm. The alpha male's position provides security and stability for the entire mob, making these contests a form of social order rather than senseless violence. Male kangaroos also vocalize to express fear, distress, or pain. Though in extreme pain, male kangaroos often suppress vocalizations altogether. A silent stoicism, believed to be a survival strategy, preventing them from advertising vulnerability to predators. Even in moments of suffering, the kangaroo's behavior is shaped by millions of years of evolutionary wisdom. The story of the kangaroo ultimately is the story of Australia itself. Ancient, resilient, shaped by extremes, and endlessly surprising. It is a creature that has outlasted ice ages, survived the disappearance of the continent's great predators, adapted to the arrival of humans, and continued to thrive across one of the most challenging landscapes on Earth. It hops when every other large animal runs. It breathes more efficiently the faster it moves. It gives birth to a creature smaller than a thumbnail, nurses it in a pouch for months, and produces 2 different types of milk simultaneously for young at different stages of development. It communicates with other species, remembers the location of water across vast distances, and has been painted on rock walls by humans for 17,000 years. Every time science looks more closely at the kangaroo, it finds something new to admire. What once seemed like a simple, hopping herbivore turns out to be a masterpiece of evolutionary engineering. Cognitively flexible, socially complex, physically extraordinary, and culturally profound, the kangaroo does not merely belong to Australia. In a very real sense, it is Australia. Wild, ancient, and unlike anything else on Earth. The kangaroo is, without question, one of the most extraordinary animals that has ever walked, or rather hopped, upon this earth. From the scorching red plains of the Australian outback to the dense canopies of the Queensland rainforest, from the fossil record of ancient megafauna to the cutting-edge laboratories of modern behavioral science, the kangaroo appears again and again as a creature of remarkable depth, resilience, and wonder. To study the kangaroo is to study the very history of a continent, and to understand it fully is to gain a profound appreciation for what life on Earth is truly capable of becoming when given enough time, enough pressure, and enough space to evolve on its own terms. What makes the kangaroo so endlessly compelling is that it defies expectation at every turn. It is the largest animal on Earth to use hopping as its primary means of movement, yet that movement is not a compromise or a quirk. It is one of the most energy-efficient locomotion systems in the entire animal kingdom. It breathes more efficiently as it goes faster. It covers 30 feet in a single bound. It reaches speeds that would leave most predators behind, all while burning less fuel per kilometer than almost any similarly sized creature alive. The kangaroo's body is not a rough draft of something better. It is a finished masterpiece, refined over millions of years into a form perfectly matched to its world. Its reproduction is equally astonishing. A newborn joey, barely the size of a thumbnail, blind, hairless, and weighing less than a gram, drags itself entirely unaided from the birth canal into the warmth of its mother's pouch, guided by nothing but instinct and the faint traces of a chemical trail. Once there, it clamps onto a teat that swells around it, holding it in place as it grows slowly from a jelly bean into a fully formed young kangaroo over the course of months. All the while, its mother may be simultaneously carrying a dormant embryo, held in a state of suspended development until conditions are right for it to resume growing. This system, elegant, efficient, and unlike anything found in placental mammals, represents an entirely different solution to the problem of raising young, and it works beautifully. The kangaroo does not do things the way other animals do them, and that is precisely the point. Its intelligence, long underestimated, has only recently begun to receive the recognition it deserves. The discovery that kangaroos can deliberately seek help from humans, making eye contact, alternating their gaze between a person and a problem, physically pawing for attention, overturn long-held assumptions about the cognitive limits of non-domesticated animals. The kangaroo was never trained to do this, never bred for cooperation with humans over generations the way dogs and horses were. It figured it out on its own, which makes the behavior all the more remarkable. Its memory for water sources across vast and shifting landscapes, its tactical use of deep water to drown pursuing predators, its nuanced vocabulary of sounds and body language within the mob. All of these point to an animal whose inner life is richer and more complex than its popular image suggests. The kangaroo's social world, too, is far from simple. Within the mob, relationships are maintained through grooming, play, vocal communication, and the constant negotiation of a dominance hierarchy. Mothers and joeys communicate with soft clucks and calls. Males growl, cough, and posture to signal their place in the social order. The mob moves together, feeds together, and watches for danger together, each individual contributing to the collective alertness that keeps them all alive. This is not the behavior of a mindless herd animal. It is the behavior of a sophisticated social organism, one that has learned, over countless generations, that survival is a collective project. Culturally, the kangaroo occupies a place that few animals anywhere in the world can match. For Indigenous Australians, it has been a source of food, clothing, tools, and spiritual meaning for at least 60,000 years. The oldest figurative rock painting yet discovered on the Australian continent depicts a kangaroo, rendered in red ochre on a Kimberley cliff face 17,000 years ago. Dreamtime stories place the kangaroo at the very origin of the land, as an ancestral being who shaped the landscape and encoded the laws of living on country. No other animal is so thoroughly woven into the spiritual, cultural, and material life of the people who first called Australia home. For the rest of the world, the kangaroo has become the face of an entire continent. An image so powerful and so distinctive that it appears on flags, coins, aircraft, and the coats of arms of nations. It represents something that resonates universally. The idea that nature, given its own path, will arrive at solutions that human imagination could never anticipate. The kangaroo is proof that there is more than one way to be a mammal, more than one way to move, more than one way to give birth and raise young, more than one way to be intelligent, more than one way to survive. The challenges it faces today, habitat loss, climate change, fragmented populations, the complex politics of culling and conservation, are real and serious, and they deserve the full and honest attention of governments, scientists, communities, and individuals. A world without kangaroos would not merely be a world with one fewer species. It would be a world diminished in ways that are difficult to articulate but impossible to ignore, quieter, flatter, less ancient, and somehow less alive. But the kangaroo has survived ice ages and the collapse of forests, and the extinction of the great predators, and the arrival of human beings, and the transformation of a continent. It has done so not by accident, but by being exactly what it is: adaptable, powerful, intelligent, and irreplaceable. There is every reason to believe that, with the care and respect this animal deserves, it will continue to bound across the red earth of Australia for thousands of years to come, as it has for millions of years before, a living monument to the staggering creativity of life on Earth.